I'm going to lean on this. There's 3 pillars, what I find that every agent needs in like, especially final expense. You need a good, solid, well-vetted lead source. You need your systems, and then you need to have the presentation down. And so for me, those 3 pillars are really the foundation of thriving and finding a good stride.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Life Insurance Academy podcast. And today I'm joined by a special guest from Fort Worth, Texas, a lady who is making waves in major strides, Ashley Mullinex. Welcome to the Life Insurance Academy podcast. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
It's so exciting to have you on. I've been watching your journey. And as we've gotten to know each other, it's been exciting to see that you are now reinvesting back in the business and helping new agents win at a pretty good clip. And you got some really good success stories of new agents that are working with you.
Yeah.
And I know they're having some massive success. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But before we do that, I want our audience to know a little bit about you and where you're from and what your journey is. Let's find out a little bit about Ashley.
Yeah. There's, so I've been in the industry just over 2 years. As I say, and my story to keep it sweet, I was a stay-at-home mom, wanted to find something to do at home, but still had time freedom for my girls. That's really important to me as they're growing up. And I found my stride in the industry, kind of crushing it at a part-time capacity without being a slave to the industry, and kind of had a heart to pour into other people. So to keep a long story short, I guess, I'm at a capacity now where I'm just helping other agents do what I did.
So you were a respiratory therapist before that, right?
Yes, I was. Yeah.
And dabbled in real estate a little bit.
Yeah, I wanted out of the hospital, did not love working in the hospital. I remember one day I was in the ICU and I was managing a ventilator, and I just thought to myself, I cannot be doing this when I'm 50. And that was my journey to find my way out of healthcare. And then I transitioned into real estate, was in real estate not too long. I did pretty well. I was able to replace the income that I was making at the hospital. And then was out in the country. Real estate didn't make sense. So I was a stay-at-home mom for a year and thought, you know what? I have some credit card bills. I'd like to help out at the home. And I'm just sitting at home all day when the girls are at school. So I went online and I was like, how do I find something where I can work at home, have flexibility in my schedule, and make a little bit of income? And life insurance found me.
Life insurance found you. Well, at least someone was marketing themselves, right? And sharing the opportunity.
Yes.
And so it's been 2 years, right? Since you got started.
Yep. 2 years.
And then one of the most surprising things is just 12 months into your journey, you decided, well, I'm going to start teaching what I've learned in the first 12 months. Yeah. Most people don't start teaching the stuff they've learned, especially online and putting themselves out there, just 12 months after they've started something. What prompted that, and how's that journey been?
So it's been a crazy journey, one that I definitely don't regret. But it was my best friend, Shayna, who encouraged me at the time because, you always vent to your best friend, and she knew my whole journey that I had in life insurance for the first 12 months. And I had been through so much ups and downs, left and rights. And she said, there's other agents out there, Ashley, who are also going through the same thing. You should share your story, share insight, and just share. Was her heart. And I'm so happy that I listened to her, because it's really changed the whole trajectory of where I'm at in life insurance.
And so your channel on YouTube is simply your name, Ashley Mullinex.
Just my name. Yep.
Spell your last name so they can find it.
Yeah, it's different. It's Mullinix, like Ashley.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to find you. What do you teach on that channel?
Really just tips and tricks. Everything final expense heavy. I don't do healthcare. I don't do annuities. I am one vertical kind of gal. But I share things on overcoming objections, tips to help, maybe if you're not finding trust in a call, how to get through banking. I also share calls. So I share full calls. I do edit them out, personal information and stuff from the client, but you can hear a full call. I share my script. I mean, I literally am an open book. And I'm very active in the chat channels and stuff. And folks email me with questions, and I'm just kind of a resource for agents.
So let's talk a little bit about your journey. You've been in the business for 2 years.
Yeah.
You started one place, you're not there anymore, and you recently just partnered up with another lady who has a pretty good YouTube channel, Dana Neeson, with Empower Life Group. She just went through some major change in her career.
Huge. Yeah.
We just interviewed Dana a few months back. We did a couple of interviews with her actually on the channel. And Dana's been somebody who's been making waves and teaching and has got a great content and coaching and training channel on YouTube. Probably one of the most prolific educators, I think, in our space on YouTube. And somehow you guys have found each other and now have decided to partner up. How's that going? What happened there and why?
Yeah, no, it's actually for me the partnership, when we collided, there was a couple of things happening for me personally, and then obviously for her, that just kind of brewed this perfect storm. Because up until her leaving Lincoln, where she was at, we had never communicated before. And what was really interesting to me is I knew who Dana was. I saw her on her channels, but my channel had been going for well over, 8 months at that point. And I would get emails all the time and messages, people asking me if I was on Dana's team. Because they were like, "Oh, you sound just like Dana. Did she train you?" And that was like an underlying question I got but I never met her. And it was just like a perfect storm. We collided, and I like to say we're kind of cut from the same olive branch, because we sync up so well. And so when I was finding my way in the industry, and I knew my next step was to really like have a team and help other agents in a bigger way than just kind of giving them nuggets on YouTube. It made a lot of sense for me to partner with someone who already I was in line with, and I didn't even know them yet. Someone who had built an agency and could help me do the same, because you got to follow the people with the arrows in the backs. That's what I say. Follow the
Arrows in the backs. I like that.
That's my mantra. That's who I follow. And Dana has plenty of those when it comes to building a team.
So how long has that partnership been in play and how's that going?
Oh gosh, not very long. Mid to end February of this year. So what, a quarter?
Yeah, 3 to 4 months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
3, 4
And
months.
she started all over again, right?
Yep.
Because of her prior history with Lincoln. She had a
Yep.
great relationship with them. They decided to go in a different direction as a company in the captive world. And so
Mm-hmm.
she became essentially an independent free agent, started from scratch building a team, and basically you started from scratch building a team. How's that going?
It's going really well, actually. Really, really well. We have about 25 agents, definitely showing up on the leaderboards
Already 25 new
already.
agents from scratch.
Yep, from scratch, showing up on the leaderboards. And they're hungry. They're looking for what we have, and they're leaning into it, and they're winning in a big way. And it's really fulfilling to me. It's more fulfilling to me to see agents actually win than it is for me to pick up the phone and close Mildred on a sale.
Yeah. We had a conversation a couple of months back. You and I were on the phone talking about your process a little bit. You were asking some questions, kind of looking for some coaching. And I was asking you about at the time, and this was right as you were getting into the building concept, like you were questioning how you should do it, and you had reservations about it initially. Do you remember that
100%.
conversation?
Yes.
Yeah. What were those reservations and what happened and what was the transition? Because now you're excited about it, clearly.
Yes. Now, and it's funny because those reservations had been a reservation for months and months. As I started sharing on YouTube, I kept getting questions like, "Do you have a team? Do you have a team?" And I was so hesitant because where I have come from, in the industry, I've heard nothing but horror stories
Hmm.
from, agents who try to build agencies, whether that's they lose production or they get like one or two bad agents and there's roll up debt. And, it's there, but there was never, you don't know what you don't know. And that's what I used to always say as an agent trying to learn my way as a solo agent. And
Hmm.
you don't know what you don't know when you're trying to build a team. You just know the stories. But I knew that in the industry there was a space to build and to be a leader and to help without it being something that was a nightmare type of thing. So definitely I remember that phone call vividly when I had a conversation with you, because that was my biggest fear, was trying to help agents, but then it bite me in a bad way with roll up debt that I just couldn't. I didn't want to fail out because of roll up debt.
Hmm. And what changed? What changed? And obviously the for you, and why the trajectory now that you're excited about?
Well, honestly, like I was able to plug into a system that is tried and true and it works. And I have the mentorship that I need. Obviously, again, that's a big reason that I'm with Dana, because she has the arrows in her back. She knows what to do. I've been getting mentorship on, what do you look for in an agent? What kind of questions are you asking?
Yeah.
There's, with where we're at, not only do I have the support of Dana, I have the entire support of Lasting Mark, and I can tap into so many resources. I don't feel afraid of building a team because I know that it's being done the
Hmm.
right way, and I'm following people with the arrows. And not to say like, yeah, a chargeback that's going to happen, but I'm not afraid of it anymore because I know I'm building properly.
Yeah, yeah. And you got any agents that you're excited about? How are they doing? How are some of those new people doing? What kind of traction are they getting?
Oh my gosh, so much traction. I'm actually very excited. There was one lady who just started dialing. Today's her second day of dialing, and she's done 3 policies.
3
Yes,
applications
yeah,
already.
3, yeah, 3 policies. She did 2 yesterday, 1 her first day of dialing. And
Yeah.
she's stoked. She's jacked up a Mountain Dew, as I like to say it. I have another agent who he's right there at top of the leaderboards. He's coming after Wade and Clark, and he's doing really, really well. But he has very much he does what I do. Everything is wash, rinse, and repeatable.
Mm,
And he's focused. He has his lead flow. He tapped into the system, and he's found his stride. And he came from like the health side. Like he used to do Medicare, and he still does. When open enrollment comes, he'll do that. But
mhm.
he is so excited for final expense. He's like, oh my gosh, this used to stress me out. I didn't know what I was doing. It was kind of like by the luck of a draw. Did this person like me? Did I make the sale? And he
Yeah.
said, but now that I have the systems and the script and the lead flow all tapped in the way it should be, he's like,
Mhm.
this is fun. This is easy, like you wake up and you just do it. And so again, it's just so rewarding seeing agents win.
What type of volume are those new people, what type of volume are they generating on a weekly basis now or a daily basis?
Oh yeah. Anywhere. I mean, the what I'm seeing trend is anywhere from about 1,800 to upwards of 7,500 a day. These agents are doing in a range, so they're doing really, really good.
In a day. That's
Yeah,
awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Vic,
Look
I
at
think
you. Look
last
at you
week
go.
7 policies in one day.
That's incredible. Are you ready to launch your insurance career? Excel Solutions is your go-to leader in life, accident, and health insurance pre-license training. Their cutting-edge e-learning platform is packed with rich content. Think interactive assessments, engaging videos, and customized learning paths, all tailored to your learning style. Being students ourselves, we've trusted Excel now for years to deliver top-notch training, offering high pass rates. Their streamlined prep review courses and the exam simulator are really your secret weapons to nailing the state exam the very first time. Now, you thought it couldn't get any better. Well, it just did. Life Insurance Academy listeners, you receive an epic 50% discount, reducing the regular course fee from $199 to only $99. So, all you have to do is use partner code LIA at liapodcast.org/Excel. Now, Excel spells XCEL. So don't think about it any longer. Dive headfirst into your insurance career with Excel Solutions' premier pre-license training with that exclusive 50% discount just for you. Get the code, get licensed, and excel in your insurance career. So you decided to come in. The Life Insurance Academy, hosted a telesales event in Texas last week
Yes.
and in Waco, and you're from Fort Worth.
Yep.
And you
Waco.
had some people that joined that telesales boot camp for the first time, a live in-person training where
Mm-hmm.
they're on the phones dialing, they're talking to clients. We've got coaches in their ear listening. We can whisper to talk to them while they're on the phone with the client.
Cool, by the way.
It's so cool. Yeah, I know. It's such a fun experience and such a cool environment too.
Yeah.
Everybody collaborating together. How many agents did you have there? You had 2 or 3 agents in the room for that, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I had 3 in total. Yeah, from my direct team. We had more from Empower, right?
Yeah.
But 3 in total direct to me, yeah.
And what was that experience like for them and for you? First time being at one of those events. What was that experience like?
For me, it was super fun. Like, it was nothing like that exists, and to be able to walk around the room and listen to so many different calls,
Hmm.
whisper in and really be over someone's shoulder with the script and be like, "Wait, wait, wait," because it's funny, I would see agents, like, flip through, right, their material, and they're trying to, like, jump to the end of something, and to be able to walk up and rewind their pages and say, "Stay here," and work your way through it. I honestly, I want to go to the next boot camp and the next, like, it was so fun for me, as a helper there. But for my agents, oh my gosh, they loved it.
You had
We were-
you had a brand new guy there named Joe.
yes, Joe. Oh my gosh,
Joe
he did
Joe's a
amazing.
recent student at, is it TCU?
Yeah, yeah, former student. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's local Fort Worth as well.
Hmm.
So he's a neighbor. We found out we shop at the same grocery store.
Oh,
But at the at boot camp is when we actually met each other for like in person the first time. And
he's just a young guy, and it was his first time dialing. Just got his contracts through,
yep,
and he was set up. This was his first time literally picking up the phones and making phone calls. What was that
yep.
experience like for him? Share a little bit of his story and success.
Yeah. So day one, he had a policy. Second day, he almost pulled a hat trick. But to see what I saw in Joe was something click, right? Especially after that second, application that he did.
Yeah,
It was like a sigh of like relief. And then it was, oh, it's absolutely possible. And then he
yeah,
got hungry for it. Then
yeah.
this like competitiveness came out in him that I wasn't expecting, and he was watching people go on the board and go on the board, and he was being extra hard on himself at that point because he's like, oh man, like they're going. I'm like, Joe, it's okay, like focus, like let's hone in here, don't be hard on yourself just yet, you're in the infancy stage of everything. But he was so hungry to keep hitting that bell and putting the stuff up on the board. It was a really good experience for
And
him.
I think he ended up with 4 applications, if I'm not mistaken, over the
Yes.
3 days. Yeah, something
Mhm.
like that. So it was so cool. I love those events because we see the light come on. Generally, the light comes on for people prior to that, like they're excited about the industry, and then when they come to one of those events and they get immersed into a community of everybody fighting for each other
Mhm.
across different organizations, and they're in the room learning from each other, collaborating. It was quite a cool experience, and actually, it was hosted in the Alico building where American
Yes.
Amicable Life, one of the preeminent final expense carriers in the industry, works, and that's their home office and headquarters. And they actually hosted the event because of our connection in the industry. And we had the 16th floor, and to see their staff coming in and out of the event was pretty cool. And having their customer service reps sit down beside people making calls for the first time to hear what
So
agents are dealing
cool.
with, what they're struggling with, what the conversation with clients sounds like. It was just a really cool environment. So I really appreciated you making the investment and encouraging your people to be a part of that and join that, because without the community that we're building here
Mhm.
and the collaboration with people like yourself who are willing to support agents in the industry, even though they're not a part of your group and your organization, says a
Mhm.
lot about you and the people that we have in the room that they can coach and train and encourage. And a lot of it is really the soft skills. Yes, there may be scripting, but sometimes it's just, hey, just be more empathetic.
Yeah.
Like they just shared something personal that was deeply personal to them about losing a loved one. Like, pause there
Mhm.
for a minute, spend a little time and be a
100%.
human. Like sometimes these are the things that are lost on new people, and they're just trying to get through the words on their scripting. So Well, before we wrap, and I know we've got about another 10 or 15 minutes to go, I wanted to hit on, now that you're 2 years into the business, and still, like, I'm talking to you, you're actually growing your own team. You've only been in the business 2 years,
Yeah.
and you've gone through your own personal journey that year one, and then you decide to talk about your journey from now on. And how often do you produce content for YouTube?
Right now it's just once a week, every Monday, something new
Okay.
post.
Every Monday. And so you're sharing your experiences, the things you've learned, the struggles you've had, the wins you've had, the breakthroughs, the discoveries, whatever.
Oh yeah.
What have you found maybe are the top 3 to 5 things that new agents need to be successful? Maybe what they're struggling with and what they need. And you can frame that however you want. But I'd like to leave our people today that are watching, from your experience, someone who's gotten in, had some success, and is now teaching others how to have success at a pretty good clip. What do you think new agents need?
That's a very good question. So, first and foremost, new agents need not to point fingers. Where it's it's my upline, it's my IMO, it's the this, it's the that, jump on like the complain train, as I call it.
Mm,
Not
mm,
to do that first and
mm,
foremost. I always, in my journey, I always look inwardly at myself. How do I get better? What do I do? How do I pivot? What's best to grow?
mm,
Um, but there's three, I'm going to lean on this. There's three pillars, what I find that every agent needs in like, especially final expense. You need a good, solid, well vetted lead source. You need your systems, and then you need to have the presentation down. And so when it comes to a lead source, you have to be very careful and mindful of where you're getting the leads from. You want to make sure you're compliant. You want to make sure that they're in at a consistent basis. There's a lot of little nuances that comes to knowing and understanding the leg of your business that is your leads. And then the systems, right? I am surprised to find out that there's still agents living in dinosaur land. You got a spreadsheet, you're calling from your cell phone, and it's 2025. There's so many tools that can help you, right? Do amazing things. There's fun booking bots that will kind of act like a personal assistant. There's
mhm.
dialers that will help you get through your leads faster. You can be spam protected. Like, there's systems in place that are important for you to lean in on, and you need them as a business owner.
Yeah.
And then lastly is the presentation, right? So it's not just the words on the page, right? Like, I share Life Insurance Academy, you have a script agents can use. I, on my YouTube channel, have a script agents can use.
Mhm,
But it's not enough just to read the words on the script. You have to understand why you're saying the words,
mhm.
right? And so for me, those three pillars are really the foundation of thriving and finding a good stride.
Yeah. Where do you find new agents getting started? Where do you find that they struggle the most? What area do they struggle the most? If someone's going to fail out, typically it's because of what?
You know, there's so many things going on through my head. If I had to
Mhm,
narrow it down to one thing, it's just failure to launch and actually do the activity.
mm,
I see a lot of agents and they get everything that they need. They have everything that they need, and then when it comes time to actually pick up the phone and start the activity, there's no activity, or there's a little bit of activity that's very excuse me, very inconsistent.
yeah.
And you will never grow if you cannot start.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was at the boot camp last week, and this happens in every one of our events, by the way. Usually we get to day 2. Some people that are struggling will come up and say, "Hey, can I steal a few minutes of your time?" And of course, that's always available. And we'll sit down and talk, and I'll say, "I'm struggling with this, that. I'm not connecting." And when I say this, and I'll boil it all down, and it says, "Sounds like you're not having enough conversations. Like,
Mhm.
you're simply not having enough conversation. Let's look at how many leads you have and how many dials you're making." And of
Mhm.
course, when we do our boot camps, they use our technology. And so we can see exactly how many times they click dial, right?
Yeah.
Dial, dial, dial. And so while people feel like they're doing a lot,
Yeah.
oftentimes they're not nearly doing as much. So if you had 100 leads, for instance, right? And
Mhm.
you were to triple dial, wait for it to go to voicemail. And when it goes to voicemail, hang up, dial again,
Yeah.
and then do it again. to get someone's attention. Let's say you're triple dialing. It takes about a minute to do that 3 times, about 20 seconds for it to go through to voicemail the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Do it again, 20. You see, so it takes about a minute to do that. So on 100 leads, if each one of those were a minute, that's less than 2 hours of actual dialing.
Yeah.
Well, if you had 3 presentations that took you 30 minutes, let's say, and you didn't get a sale, and you had one that was an hour and you got a sale, you've got another hour and a half. You've got 2.5 hours plus the 90 minutes of other dialing. And how much time is that? I mean, when you think about there's 8 hours in a day or 10 hours in a day, and you actually only spent 4 to 5 hours, and you felt like you worked all day,
Yeah.
and you might not have even had you might not have even had a close that took 90 minutes or an hour. You might have only had 3 30-minute conversations and 6 conversations that lasted 2 minutes and you got hung up on, right?
100%.
It doesn't take a lot to get through 100 leads. And surprisingly, at every one of our boot camps, when people come up and sit down with us, and I'll look at how many dials they made, we look at the data, and instead of them making 300, because if you have 100 leads and you triple dial them, there would be 300, literally 300 dials out in the system. It shows that they've only dialed 120 times.
And you know what's interesting? To add to that thought too, what I see a lot of new agents do when they feel like they're doing all this activity, they are doing activity. What they're doing is they're hesitant. They're reading every line in their CRM or their dialer. They want to know meticulously what everything is going on. And so in between those dials, they're also kind of reorganizing their I guess headspace or their desk space, and it's
Researching,
flowing.
they're
Yes,
getting another carrier
yes.
app open. They're doing all the stuff.
And so it makes them feel like they're constantly busy, but in the industry, in telesales, the only thing that's going to make you income is doing the activities that make you income, and that's actually the dials. So all those micro minutes in between each activity, right? That's not you can't. That's why you have to have a goal daily. You have to know that no matter what, I'm going to hit these metrics, and I don't stop until that's done.
Yeah,
Because in the beginning, it's going to take you a minute to find your flow, but once you find your flow, and myself, just like a handful of agents that have been dialing for a month or two now, you show up and you just do it. You just get it. It's like a muscle. You're working out a muscle.
yeah.
So definitely be patient with yourself in the beginning, but have target numbers and do not leave until you hit those.
We talked about 4 things. I'm going to recap the 4 things that we talked about, and then I'm going to ask you about a 5th one, and then we can wrap. You said there's 3 pillars that every agent needs. They need to have a good lead source that's vetted, that's verified, and they need to have sufficient lead flow. Secondly, you need to have a good system. It's 2025, for goodness sake, you said. There's other things that can help you become very efficient. And then you need to have a good presentation and mastery of that presentation,
Mm-hmm.
right? A learned presentation that's practiced and mastered and understood why. We call it the principled sales process, right?
Yeah.
Not just understanding the words on the script, but what you're trying to communicate in the meeting, what you're trying to communicate in the conversation. We call it the 5-part framework. And then this past part, we talked about activity. You need to put in the work. You just need to do the work, because too many agents, they get ready to do all the things, and then when it comes to actually doing the work, they're pausing, they're stopping, they're stalling, they're interrupting themselves from actually doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
And when someone feels like they dialed all day, what they really did is they took all day to dial.
Yes.
Uh, and they felt like they worked all day.
Yeah.
But they just didn't get the activity, and the numbers don't lie. So the great thing about sitting in a boot camp and people walk up to you, you turn the screen and show them how many times they dialed, and they dialed 120 times. So if they triple dialed that lead, they really dialed 40 leads
Mm-hmm.
once, and they felt like they had a full day. And we're just not going to be successful if that's our call ratio. And so we need to be honest with ourselves. So activity. The last part, which you and I have not spoken about, we touched on it earlier. Okay, we touched on it earlier, but you said, when I was ready to start growing, I knew I needed to find a community where I could grow with systems and resources and structure and environment that was proven and tested. How
Mm-hmm.
important is the right community for an agent? You have your 3 pillars. We have the activity factor, and I want to end with this community factor. How important is a tested and proven community to a new agent's success?
It is pivotal. I have been in plenty of different Zoom rooms. I have talked to plenty of different leaders or uplines, and there's a lot of toxic air in the space of life insurance. And you have to, it's that tried and true saying, right? Like you mirror the five closest people around you, right? And so, who are you keeping around you is important. You are building a business for yourself, right? This is something where you need to nurture it. You need to nurture your mind. You need to make sure you're around people who will nurture you. So, your community is absolutely key. You cannot sit on a broker island in life insurance and telesales and find success.
Mhm.
The mental struggle in the industry is a real thing. It's a sales process at the end of the day. So being around like-minded people, people who lift you up, people who don't talk bad about other people in the industry, people who, I have literally had uplines before who will talk bad about another agent on the team and then shut their mouth when that agent's around and just kind of give that side eye, like everyone look, it's bullying at its finest. It runs rampant in the space and it's toxic behavior. And I don't encourage anyone to be in that space. You need to find a place where you can thrive, where people are ready to pour into you, people who
Yeah.
have arrows in their backs. It's all important.
We last week at the boot camp, and we'll wrap with this, and I'll ask your thoughts on this. But last week at the boot camp, um, the night went till about 8:30. We go to 8:30 every night. Of course, we bring in dinner. People can get to eat on their own. They don't leave for dinner and come back. They eat while they're there, and we wrap about 8:30 Central. Obviously, it's 9:30 Eastern. Starts to get difficult to dial that late, and we also have to make sure we're compliant with where we're and when we're calling, that sort of thing. So we wrap at 8:30, and then we debrief, and then people stand around the room and talk. And then everybody that had flown in from other areas went to the hotel, the host hotel that we were all staying at. And then we're down by the lobby bar talking, and then people will drift off. But it was interesting that the last night we were there was a table of about 8 or 10 people. And those 8 or 10 people stayed to almost midnight talking about life and business. And the people that were around that table talking about life and business are some of the most successful people in the industry, that I would say, and are learning to win at a high level. And yet they're there asking questions and sharing ideas. And that is also a community. And you were one of the people at that table. What was that
What?
like? And how did you feel about that conversation that was going on? Because that's also a community environment where I know that had to be rich for you being a part of it. But just to think that other people from other organizations that are not a part of your organization, whether they win or lose, does not affect Ashley and Dana, right? Or does not
Yep.
affect Ashley and Amplify Life. But yet you're there learning together from that community. What was that experience like?
It was a refreshing experience. Actually, I was a sponge for the entire moment of the conversation. Anytime I had a window to ask a question, I did, because I knew that there were a bunch of power players there. And what I like about when you find the community of people who will enrich you, there's no gatekeeping. There shouldn't be
Yeah.
gatekeeping, right? There are hundreds and thousands of families out there who need coverage on any spectrum, whether you're in mortgage protection, health, like everyone needs something. There's plenty of people. So
Mhm.
what I don't love about the majority of the space is people gatekeep. They keep, everything to themselves. They make it like a cool kids club kind of mentality when it shouldn't be like that. So being able to have been in that area that Friday night and been around some key players who we were just open and having honest conversations and wanting to grow and challenge our thought process. I mean, I felt blessed to be a part of that. That was awesome.
And that's the type of communities that we hope to continue to foster. And I believe that's the community we're building here with the Life Insurance Academy, the people that plug into our weekly coaching and attend our events, that are, part of our courses, that we have available. The most value, I believe, is in our weekly coaching programs. But I think beyond that, there's a community that generates and that is built out of that. And these are people that are fighting to win. So I know you're someone who's fighting to win. You're doing really, really cool things in the space. I'm super excited about your trajectory. We need more strong, powerful women with great voices leading the way. I am a proponent and an advocate for that. And I think you guys have an advantage over us guys. I think there's an approach with a lot of clients that you guys have an edge on. I'm kind of
Mhm.
jealous about it. I have to work harder to try to figure out how to navigate some of that stuff. And I believe this is a great career for people just in your situation. Stay-at-home mom who is really balancing being a great parent. And the really cool thing, and I'm going to say this: you brought both of your kids down to that event, and they were in the room for that final night dinner.
Mhm.
They stayed at the hotel, and you slipped out at dinner time and went and spent time with them. You were intentional with them, but you still worked, and you were doing everything, and you were balancing it. And it looked like you were not stressed about anything. And this was just the mode you were operating in. And for your
Yeah.
girls to be able to watch you in that environment has got to be inspiring for them. So I want to commend you on doing a great job from my perspective.
Thank you.
And I know we haven't known each other that long, but from what I can see, you're doing a great job. You want to give back to the industry. You're leading well by example with your own family. You've balanced this life and business thing. You're creating a great income for yourself, and you're helping other people win. And it's not just ladies. You've got a very diverse team that's coming on strong. And I
Yeah.
say the world should watch out for Amplify Life. So I'm excited to see your trajectory over the next months and years. And we'll
Thank
have to
you.
have you back on for like a follow up at some point in the future and say,
Yeah.
okay, let's look back and see how things went. So thank you so much for what you do for the industry. How do people find you?
So my primary channel is YouTube, just Ashley Molinex on YouTube. I am getting better with Instagram. Okay. So you can maybe start following there, Final Expense Amplify. I'm going to start growing over there too.
And you're also on Facebook, right?
Yes,
You
I
also
am
have
on
your
Facebook too. Ashley Molinex is on Facebook. Yeah.
awesome. Well, thank you, Ashley, with Amplify Life for being on today. Continued success to you. And guys, if you have not followed Ashley, please go over there and subscribe. And if you find value in these interviews, just like the one we did with Ashley and about collaborating people in the industry, and you want more of them, or you have someone you want to suggest for the channel that I should interview, or that Chris or Zach should interview, please leave a message for us, throw some comments in, give Ashley some kudos or shout outs if you've learned something from her. She's got a great video out, by the way, if you're struggling with getting a client to understand how to sign Social Security information, banking information, and there's some hesitancy. There's a thing. She's got a video on Crank Wheel, an inside secret. I think you should go and look at that video right now following this one. I'm hoping Adam will put a link to it somewhere. That video, Ashley, was phenomenal. I think everyone should watch that because that's a game changer. But if you find value, give her a shout out. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And thank you, Ashley, for being on. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Life Insurance Academy podcast.